Indian girl's beheading prompts calls for honor killing laws. In Uttar Pradesh, India,
Of course.
no offense.
No. Intended offense. Be offended. Be offended if this is like what you're defending. If you're defending this kind of definitely offense.
This goes on so often in that area that we're like, oh, Uttar Pradesh, we knew it.
Yeah, it's always a safe bet. Oh, for people who don't know, for people outside of India, Uttar Pradesh is like the Aceh of India. Wait, so people might not know even that. So Uttar Pradesh is the most religious Hindu state in India, just like Aceh in Indonesia.
Yeah. On Thursday, March 4th, a man walked from his village home en route to the local police station in northern India, carrying a severed head. A man named Sarvish Kumar carried the severed head of his 17-year-old daughter to the police station and admitted that he had decapitated her as they arrested him. The viral video on social media shows him carrying the head while he flashes the victory sign with his free hand. His voice is heard describing how he found his daughter at home alone, locked her in a room, and then beheaded her with a sharp object. This rekindled demands from human rights groups and women's campaigners for better laws to fight against the practice of so-called honor killings and improve police investigations while also protecting potential victims. Quote, "The issue of a woman's right to choose her own spouse needs immediate attention, and a separate law should be made for dealing with honor killing," said the vice president of the Uttar Pradesh chapter of All India Democratic Women Association, Mrs. Madhu Garg. So, yes, this is...
So how much... so how could we... how much of this can be blamed on... maybe some people are like, guys, you're just making this has nothing to do with religion. This is just one guy being crazy, or how could you even you guys are just using this as a propaganda against your anti-religion rhetoric. What do you say?
It's well, especially in a lot of cultures, it can be hard to delineate where honor culture ends and where religion begins. Oftentimes, there may have already just been an underlying honor culture, but then religion and scriptures are specifically taken to reinforce those values. So it's a relationship that has a bit of a symbiosis to this. Oh, Katie is saying fake news. Hindus don't behead people. Yeah, because that's what people were screaming at us for.
Yeah, but people who don't speak internet lingo, that's the way when you type it like that, that means you're being
sarcastic.
Yeah.
Hey guys, before we get back to that video, YouTube has fully demonetized our channel for supposedly hateful and harmful conduct, without telling us what we did wrong. If we get to 1,000 patrons, we will be able to keep paying all our team, our editors, our artists, without ever having to worry about monetization again, which would be amazing. Yay! So please support Atheist Republic on Patreon. Link in the description below.
Okay, so Goddess Katie has a point here. This is honor culture, okay? And honor culture is sometimes directly and sometimes indirectly comes from religion, okay? However, which religion is sometimes it's not easy to. So here's the thing: it's not. When you say religion has a role in this, you're not suggesting that religion was the only culprit here, right? There are many different factors as well. Socioeconomic factors, cultural factors, a person's mindset. That individual could have been, mentally not. Again, we're not mental health professionals, so I'm not going to make a comment on that. But that might have an influence. But saying all those things have an influence and then saying religion didn't have an influence at all that shows that
Yeah.
you are biased. Like some people mention the role, they mention the roles, the effect all those other points have had, to dismiss the role religion has. But it's amazing how all of those factors could be a source of influence, like they mentioned that. And then, but religion, then they come and say, like, they mention how multifactorial all these influences are, which we agree, it's multifactorial. But then if it is, how could it be possible for the influence of religion to be zero? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Again, when it comes to India, even though it's mostly Hindu, sometimes some of this honor culture comes from Abrahamic religions. Sometimes it's from Hinduism itself. Hinduism itself does have scripture supporting honor and misogyny and stuff like that. But India has been under Islamic rule, and also under British rule. So which religion has had more of an influence in this honor culture? It's not that easy of an answer, right? So, but yeah, Susanna, you want to say something?
Well, this is also allegedly because wait, where was the exact verbiage? So I can get this right. So he's heard saying that he is angered by his daughter's alleged affair with a man he did not like. Then the BBC continues, hundreds of people are killed each year for falling in love or marrying against their family's wishes in India. He says that he recently found out about his daughter's relationship, and that made him very angry. And then he said to police, quote, "This is my daughter's head. I cut her off. I couldn't find anything else. I would have killed both of them. I saw her. I've done it with a sharp tool. Her body is lying in the room." He's saying this to the police. So it's obviously, so with honor culture, a lot of it just comes down to like possession of women, and that is very religious across many different religions. But Rivka, what are your thoughts on this?
I also think that honor culture has a lot to do with how a man is perceived by other men in terms of his prowess in controlling his property, or in, the status that comes from a son-in-law and the right one, because that's really, in a lot of these patriarchal religions, that's the only status that a woman achieves, is by marrying well or giving birth to sons. So all of her status is in relationship to men. So how he's perceived by other men in the community, even if it's definitely a religious element there, but there's also, again can be religious, particularly if in these religions there is no real status for women, and all the honor of the whole community rests with them, yet they don't really count as anything. Is this very strange paradox. It counts like as if you're embarrassed because your dog keeps running away and killing your neighbor's chickens. So then in order to placate the neighbor, you kill the dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just very, yeah.
Well, and you're right. A lot of it does also come from like preservation of virginity, preservation of chastity and purity. We know a lot of how that goes, like in traditional Hindu stories, how that's handled. Not well. And like I was thinking, a lot of collectivism, like you brought up. So Katie is also saying that there's a shame culture in India. Quote, how the society will see our family if they come to know of this. Yeah, so it's a very collective mindset. That
I get it.
Very much so, which I think is part of, sort of harkens back to a little bit of what we were talking about. When you grow up in an extended family, there's these good things about it in terms of, or in a small community with a lot of, maybe religiosity or rules support, but there's also a lot of this shame or carrying the whole community on your back, or how you're perceived by them becomes very, very important.
All right, I'm gonna say something. So here's, okay, so look at this, okay? This is how, from looking from outside, when you look at honor culture and you're looking for, guys, when you're not speaking, please mute. When you're trying to see what is the, I'm trying to come up with saying the logic or the justification as if, but the thinking that goes behind, because I know there's no logic and there's no justification, but the mentality that the person has when they do conduct honor killing, what leads them to get there. A lot of people, when the people who are not in that mindset, when they're trying to discuss it, they say it's about removing shame from your family, right? And then the comeback to that is usually is like, how could you remove shame from your family when you just killed somebody, right? So for example, Katie said, how the society will see your family if they come to know of this, right? But now they will, then you think about this, like, okay, so now they're not, the daughter was like corrupted or something, but now they know you as a family who just beheaded their daughter or something like that, right? Wouldn't that, how could that, isn't there like, wouldn't, you're now known for that, like, and you might think like this doesn't make sense, because as backward as this kind of mentality is, the vast majority of people in India are horrified to hear about a news like this, right? So what honor are you preserving, knowing that most people in India will see this title and they will be shocked by it? Like, so what shame are we talking about here? What kind of shame are you reducing, right? But the point about this is like, it's not that this, the way to look at it is not that they were making a calculated decision to preserve honor, right? The way you have to look at it is the disgust. So this whole honor culture, the mentality that you have that makes these people might commit and act like this, it's more of a emotional reaction to something they see as gross and disgusting, rather than a calculated decision to preserve honor, right? So you have to be grown in a mindset that this is so gross. So to see your daughter, to see your sister, to see your family member, this is so vile, so corrupt, so, I don't know. They would want, you know how sometimes you want to just like remove, I don't know, it just gets under their skin and they just want to remove it by any means necessary, right? So you have to understand the level of brainwashing, the influence of culture. And again, this is why I'm saying like scripture and religion, it's not like a lot of people like, oh, the Quran or the Hindu scripture or the Christian scripture, Muslims or Christian, they read it like, oh, I'm supposed to do this, and then they go do it. It doesn't work like that, right? It's not that simple. Like, oh, Muslims follow the Quran, Muslims follow the Hadith. It doesn't work like that. The scripture and the religion, it has an influence on culture. It has an influence of religious leaders. These cause certain narratives to become popular in a society, and these certain narratives throughout years, over time, makes certain feelings towards certain attitudes and certain positions stronger. It's not the same as like Hindus following Hindu scripture, Muslims following Islamic scripture. And then it has this chain reaction, and it keeps building on itself until you get to a point where you're just responding to an urge in cleansing something rather than following the religion commandments of your religion or something like that. So I just want more people to understand that yes, religion has a very destructive nature on society, but it's not as simple as a lot of atheists assume it is. Anyways,
Wanted to talk about what you were saying previously about the shame that your daughter has done something that you find, reprehensible versus the shame of being a person who committed, murder, who murdered your own family. Okay. Someone in your family. I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about the lack of value of women, and it only relates to their value as it relates to men. So the shame of whatever you perceived her to have done is greater than the shame of being a family murderer. And so to me, that can be religion or culture that puts this woman so much lower than anything else. Not a person, not an animal, a woman, her own category of something that's not really a person. You see what I mean? Because there's she doesn't really have any value in and of herself. Her only value is how she relates to her husband, her father, her brother, her uncle, her, the son that she gives birth to, the mother of the son, so I think that that's kind of to some degree where some of that question could be potentially answered.
All right, I need to highlight 2 comments and then we go away. Okay, where was this? Alex is saying, I don't see why it matters whether religion plays a part in honor killing. What is the motive of defending religion as such? Does anyone understand religion the same way? It matters a lot what the sources are. Any form of solutions that is ever suggested has to be with a lot of analysis, detailed analysis of all the factors that make something a problem. If you don't understand the source of a problem, you're going to be extremely weak at addressing it. It definitely matters what every single factor is. Whenever there's a harm in society, you have to understand it fully in order to be able to tackle it. This is interesting. Hindus have caste system. Indian caste system has nothing to do with Hindu scriptures. This is absolutely wrong. This is so wrong. This is like unbelievably wrong. It's the Hindu
Were
scripture.
you born yesterday?
Guys, this is actually legit proof to show you that if somebody's from India and has an Indian flag as their profile and they have an Indian name, that doesn't mean they understand what they're just. Even if they're from India, that doesn't mean. This is so wrong. Like the Indian scripture has so many references to caste system. This could not be more wrong, right? So this is why you need to learn from this comment that you shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm from India, so I know what I'm talking about. Don't buy that, okay? People could be from their country. Like somebody could come say, I'm from Iran, so let me tell you about Iranian politics. Don't trust people just because they're from the place that they're talking about, okay? Yeah, Rivka?
Just want to say one more thing. So you were talking about why does it matter about religion? Yes, it matters. That Ali Rivzi quote came to mind where he says, if you want to fight patriarchy, and you're not fighting religion, then you're not fighting, So in that quote, he's talking about some of the sources of whatever it is that you're trying to, you have to know where the source comes from. And a lot of it is religion, especially when you're talking about this kind of, process that would lead somebody to do something like this.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of blasphemy and sexy Kali, like me, then that means that you probably want more blasphemous art. Well, I have good news for you. If you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below, then you get a free booklet of some of the tastiest blasphemous art available today. So, if you want some of this delicious blasphemy, and we're so generous that we update it for you guys weekly for free, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter below. You can also go to blasphemousart.com/ebook. That's blasphemousart.com/ebook. Sign up with your email, and you get free gifts of this tasty blasphemy. What could be better? So make sure you sign up. Link below.